Well, I'll tell you what, as far as the Air Force is concerned, we had outstanding chow. When we were in Vietnam, we had powdered milk as opposed to real milk, powdered eggs, but the Air Force did a pretty good job of putting the chow together. And the only time that I ever had a meal that I wasn't too fond of was if I had an in-flight meal when we were flying on the airplane, because they were like a box lunch, and some of the food seemed to be more like several weeks old as opposed to be made fresh.
Also, being part of the Air Force, I will go right alongside of Dennis, and that's the fact that that's one thing that the Air Force, and I understand the Navy also, but the Air Force always made sure that because of conditions and so on, we had the best food.
Being on the road with motor transport, I basically ate sea rations. I'd carry a couple of cases of sea rations with me in my truck, and we lived on that when we weren't in our base camp. But once out back at base camp, we had what they called A rations, which also came in a can, but they tasted a whole lot better, and they were also prepared in a mess hall, where you could actually sit down at a table and actually use a fork, a knife, and a spoon, rather than a little plastic spoon you would get inside your sea ration box. And I can't complain about the food. When you're hungry, everything tasted good.
Going along with Ed, we usually, at a fire base, sometimes you'd have a warm meal. You would also have sea rations, but depending on how hungry you were, some of that food was darn good. Also, you learned how to drink warm soda and warm beer, too, and it's an acquired taste.
Could one of you explain sea rations?
Well, sea rations are a packaged canned meal, and it has a meal like beans and franks, which I happen to love. It would give you a pound cake, and strangely enough, it had, I think, 4 cigarettes in each C-Rat, didn't it? 4 cigarettes? Yeah. I was going to say it had 4 cigarettes. Now, today, that would be just totally out of character, but in those days, you did get cigarettes with it. Chesterfield.
Yeah, with the sea rations, you'd have to open the top of the can, and you wouldn't cut the top completely off. You would just cut it enough where you could bend the top back and use it as a handle and put it over a campfire or a little, what they call the blue mint, which is some type of a heating element that you would light with a match, and you'd heat your food up over that. But everything was in a can.
And one of your most prized possessions, along with your dog tags, was what was called a P-38, and it was used to open the cans that Ed talked about. So.